So for automated rules, I'm just going to go back to the campaign we created last time. Okay. Actually, let's go back. Okay, so let's just say we're going to create a website traffic campaign. It's a search campaign. Continue. I'll just use my website. Okay. So check that. Then I'll just leave that as Denver. And we're looking for, oops. Let's just go through each step. So URL, dynamic search ads, okay. Page options, yep. So that's going to be 0, so we can just leave that. Actually, doesn't really matter since we're not running a display campaign. Let's make that 100, and then action. Okay, yeah, I'll just leave that as that. Yeah, just leave that as the default. I'm not sure we went over this part last time, but yeah, you can set the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Add rotation. So you can just, yeah, so I usually, well, yeah, for this one, you can only use the first 2 options. So just rotate ads indefinitely. And then it continue, oops, just say $50. Okay, so that's that. So continue. Okay, so this is where you set up all of your ad copy. So we'll just put test. Click here to learn more. Done. Okay. And then we do not want to do this right now. Okay. So once we're here, I think this just be a good time to go over the different settings. So when we're looking at settings for the campaign,
oh, gotcha. You can go in and just make it there. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, so if you ever want to go and change any of the settings we just created, you would just go to the main settings menu.
Okay.
Okay. You can do advanced bid adjustments to where, well, I guess since we're not running call only ads, it's X'd out by default. But yeah, you can basically make bid adjustments for like certain times of the day, certain days of the week, and so on. Okay.
How could you do because I guess I'm curious in the adjustments to like the keywords. Like if the cost per click for a keyword is super high, like how you adjust that for one specific keyword.
I see. Yeah. So if you go to search keywords, so yeah, so you just go to the 3 dots here, create an automated rule. And so we're doing it at the keyword level, but you can also do this at the ad or ad group level as well.
So if you put in like a set of 10 keywords, does it break it out in there in those 10, or does it do it all as like one set?
I'm not sure if I understood your question. So if you add a set of 10 keywords, would this rule apply to all 10? Is that what you're saying?
So go back real fast to the screen that you had.
Okay.
So like right there, it has keyword, like search engine optimization, online marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Did it break those up individually when you put in the group? Or did you have to run them individually?
So these are all in the same ad group. Um,
And it breaks it up.
it breaks it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I like do comma plus a bunch of the other keywords, it'll just break it up like that.
Right. Yeah. AdWords
Gotcha.
does that
Okay.
automatically. Yeah.
Okay. So then I just go in there and then make the rule based on the keyword.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I think, yeah, you're kind of looking specifically on, so yeah, you go to conditions and then, whatever it is, let's say one that I use frequently, CTR, if it's less than, I don't know, 1%, and if the keyword text contains, I don't know, SEO, and that, I would just leave this by default because it will make sure that only the enabled keywords are affected. So anything that's paused, it won't remove. But yeah, you basically set those conditions and then set an action. So in this case, I would want to pause those keywords.
Okay.
And then, depending on what you're trying to do, you can do it at the account level, campaign level, and ad group level.
Okay.
So I think you could just, for White Shoes Consulting, you could just leave it at the account level. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I like to always make sure that I'm emailed what happens each time it does the, I guess the automated rule goes into effect, just to make sure there aren't any errors. So yeah, I would just say, I like to see the changes and the errors. So you can just have that emailed to you to whatever email is on the account. And then the frequency is basically how often the I guess this condition test is ran.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just kind of depending on the nature of the campaign. I'll probably do it. If it's high stakes, I would probably do it multiple times a day. So maybe daily, and then do it once a day.
Okay.
But yeah, if it's something that's not quite as impactful, weekly is definitely fine.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do here. So, one of the examples I remember I mentioned last time, you can, and this will actually be at the campaign level, we're at the keyword level now, but you can pause the campaign if it reaches that the cost, so cost is over your budget amount.
Gotcha.
Or even on a daily basis. So let's say if you are running in every business day of the month, so that's about 20 business days in a month, and your budget is $1,000 for the month. If you ever go over that budget for whatever reason, like maybe during the first week, you can adjust your daily budget moving forward. But let's say if the opposite is true, if your budget is, let's say, what's that, $50 a day, then for the first week, you've only used $40 on average. You can actually increase your daily budget to use that leftover budget from the first week.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, the sky's kind of the limit of what you can do here. So I kind of just use these as, if I don't have time to look at the campaign every day, then this will pretty much take care of it for me.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. So why don't we just dive into our topic for today, and that's display advertising. So last time we talked about search, and that's traditionally going to be the ads that you see at the top of the search results, or if you're looking on a website, that's a search partner for Google. Display ads, you've probably seen them, quite regularly as well. These are the image ads. So you can actually use video ads as well, but image ads are probably kind of what you think of when you're looking at display ads.
Okay.
There are 3 types of ads that we're going to go over in detail today: responsive display ads, Gmail ads, and smart display ads. So we're going to get into kind of just an overview of the Google Display Ad Network, or the Google Display Network. So we're going to revisit how this fits into our See, Think, Do framework. And then, just kind of understanding, some of the basics about Google Display Ads. And then we're going to jump into the different types of ads. And I'm going to switch over to AdWords to show you how to set those up, and just some things to think about when you're doing any type of configuration with the settings or the targeting. Okay. So just to revisit the See, Think, Do. So the question for you: if someone, they already know that they need a image consultant, however, they're still not quite sure, who they're going to go with, which professional they're going to go with, which stage do you think they would fit in here?
Probably the think stage, because they're actively comparing.
Exactly. So for image consulting, what would be an example of someone at the C stage? So they're both unaware that they might need an image consultant, and of course, since they're unaware, they're probably not familiar with how image consulting works, or that there are experts out there that can help them. You run into any situations like that?
Not quite, because all mine really come through Thumbtack still.
Yeah.
And so most of them are at that think stage, so they know what it is. So now they're just trying to find a pro.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, but there are people, that I'm sure Googling, like, I dress like a slob. How do I fix it?
Right. Right. And I wanted to revisit this because, it's important to remember, where each of these different campaign types fit along this framework. So display ads, they can actually fit into any of the 3 stages, but the goal at each stage is different. So for the C stage, again, these are people who are unaware that they have a problem that needs to be solved. You're really just trying to get people familiar with your brand. So you're not going to be too aggressive with the messaging, but it's kind of just more, hey, we exist. If you ever need image consulting expertise, we are an option that is available for you. For think stage and do stage, think stage, it's, they're aware of the problem, and now you're really trying to, kind of help them understand, do imagery and creatives why you're the best solution for the problem. So this is where you're going to, do a lot of your geography targeting. So, someone who may be considering different virtual options, the fact that you are available locally in Denver, even if you have no plans to meet in person, can kind of be that extra, edge when thinking about other options, outside of Denver, outside of Colorado.
Okay.
Demographics. So I remember you mentioned that, one of your key differentiators is that you're LGBT friendly, and that can definitely be one of those things that sets you apart from, other providers.
Right.
And then just placement. So we'll get into that a little bit later when we kind of go over the different placement types. But this is where, I'll ask you this, for your audience, what are maybe some common interests that they have that you noticed?
Ooh, good question. Because like, I don't know if I noticed common interests. It's more like lifestyle changes that I just keep seeing.
Okay. And you mentioned that one is maybe like a weight loss, dramatic weight loss, or
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's, one way you can kind of leverage your placements to set yourself apart, because maybe your competitors, they really aren't promoting themselves on, I'm assuming someone who's undergone a big weight loss, maybe they're on nutrition websites, they're on, they're really getting more serious about their exercise routine.
True.
And you can put together, an ad creative, some messaging that is, relevant to nutrition. You can try to find a way to incorporate it, but it's also relevant to your services.
Okay.
So, and maybe that's something that Carrie Blair, they're not doing. So, there's something to think about there.
Yeah, that
Uh,
makes sense.
Similar audiences. So this is very similar to Facebook's Facebook's their lookalike audience feature, where you have an audience and now you're kind of trying to expand your web by targeting audiences that are similar to the audience that is relevant. Again, that can be good or bad. So I would just say, try to stay conservative as possible.
Okay.
And I'll get into again later on, how you can control that. And then customer match. So, and I'll say maybe what would make the most sense for you is maybe you have people who have signed up for a free consultation, but for whatever reason, they never pull the trigger. So hopefully you have their email address and you can retarget to them, using, specific messaging targeted to someone you've already spoken with, and kind of help them, kind of ease past that finish line, becoming a customer.
Okay.
And then finally, the do stage. And this is really when you're just trying to make that sell. So they know about you, they know what sets you apart. And this is when you're trying to, again, make that sell, lead to a conversion. So this is where you'll see a lot of companies, they offer some type of discount, 10% off, or, whatever makes sense. But think stage, it's kind of where you're still trying to show why you're unique, but do stage is really all about the sell. Now, kind of putting this into context about budget. So I would say for the C stage, this is, we're working with a limited budget. I would say anything under the mid four figures to five figures is limited.
Okay.
C stage is probably a luxury. It's probably not, critical for having a successful campaign.
Okay.
Where you may want to start is that think stage or do stage, but really making sure that you're leveraging your remarketing list in order to optimize those as much as possible.
Okay.
And again, I kind of already went over this, but these are the goals with each stage. So C stage, you're really just trying to, again, let people know that you're out there and build out your different remarketing audiences. Think stage, you're looking to, um, again, build brand and product awareness, but you're really trying to get them to take those small steps. So looking at them to sign up for your email list or sign up, for a free consultation.
Okay.
They haven't quite purchased anything, but they're making small commitments that, shows you that they're on the track to becoming a customer. And then do stage, again, your goal is to make those sales, make those conversions.
Okay.
So kind of just starting from step one, what is a Google display ad? So it's an ad that shows on Google's display network. And these ads, you'll usually see them on websites that are not owned by Google, with YouTube being an exception. Display ads, they work in text or banner formats, and they can also show up on Gmail, in someone's Gmail inbox. Now, one thing, kind of like the flip side of this, again, these are websites that are not in Google's these are not Google-owned websites. But usually what website owners, they participate in a program called AdSense, where if a user clicks the ad, so basically they sign up and they basically make their website an eligible placement for a Google display ad.
Right.
If a user clicks that ad, then that website owner gets some very small percentage of that click. So that's the incentive for the website owner's point of view.
Okay.
And these are usually going to be used for remarketing. That's usually going to be the most used, or the most common way that display ads are used. So if someone comes to your website, they don't convert, then you just remarket to them forever with a Google display ad. And these are just some examples. So this is an article. So this is actually at Google advertising the AdWords platform.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they have their messaging there. This is a news website. It's actually a ad for SEMrush. They're using that imagery to kind of catch your attention. Lower here, this is from CNN. So assuming CNN is more of a audience, an educated audience, maybe they're interested in luxury items like a designer wallet. I think these guys did a really good job with this imagery and their targeting.
Yeah.
And then this is an example of a Gmail ad. So this is, you hate Gmail ads? Why?
Yeah. they're never relevant to like anything.
Yeah, it's that's really all about the targeting. So I have noticed that at least recently, like different third-party service providers that I'm interested in for different functions of the business, I've seen a string where they've done really good with their targeting, where I'll visit their website, I'm seeing them in my Gmail like a few
Really?
hours later.
That's
So
good.
yeah, so I guess it depends on the advertiser and their strategy. So hopefully you won't be one of those advertisers.
Yeah.
So there are different types of Google display ads. We have responsive ads. So these are the traditional ads that you see show up on different websites and on YouTube. We have smart display ads. So you're pretty much allowing Google to determine the best strategy, the best targeting, and the best audiences for your ads. And we'll get into some of the pros and cons of these later on here in the session.
Okay.
And then we have Gmail ads, which we just saw. These are ads that run at the top of your Gmail inbox, and they're ran through your Google ad account. So the key to success with a display ad campaign is really, let's go back to the basics of marketing. And this even applied to our SEO, where you really need to understand your buyer persona. So some of the important things you need to understand are, what are some of their favorite websites? What are some of the keywords and key phrases that they would use to find your service? Keywords related to your service. So, maybe they're not directly looking for image consulting, but I think you made the example, you gave the example, they might be searching for something like how not to look like a slob or something.
Yeah.
And then, of course, location. So, I think Denver is obvious, but maybe you want to run your ads in other locations across the country where, you might have some traction, or there might be good potential. Now, I know, one of your key, I guess, target audiences are folks who are looking to, get that great new job or making a career change, where maybe they were a blue collar worker before, but now they're going to switch over into the white collar world.
Yeah.
Or maybe some of the websites that they would frequent on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a question. Do you like?
What are some of the websites?
Yeah.
Ugh, I just don't know.
Okay.
I'm realizing I need to do more research into like
Right.
the people, like my current customers. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's very important. Pretty much SEO paid advertising, if you kind of understand your buyer, you'll save a lot of time just
Yeah.
not guessing. So yeah, I'm including an article actually as part of the homework, so that kind of goes into detail step by step
Okay.
how you really kind of develop that buyer persona. Moving on here, so landing page. So this is something that really applies to any paid advertising campaign, but I just want to make sure we went over it today. For your display ads, you want to make the copy or the text on your landing page long form. Any idea why?
Well, because the display is mostly image, not like you can have a little bit of text on them, right?
Yep, exactly. Very good. So with a text ad, someone will have a good idea on, okay, you do image consulting, you're
Yeah.
targeting Denver, and I know these different things about your business. Whereas, yeah, exactly right. Your image, with your image ad, there's not much text. So yeah, so in that case, you want to make the copy long form. Now you'll have to test exactly what long form means. That might be where, someone might have to scroll, have one scroll below the fold. Maybe that's two, maybe that's three. I would say in my experience, usually the more complex your offering is, the longer form you need to be.
Okay.
So if you're selling, for whatever reason, like some type of software, then, you might want to really go into detail about, what that software does, well, who you are, what that software does, and why they should choose your software as their solution.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
image consulting, I think most people at a high level understand what that is.
Yeah.
So you might not have to go as much into detail. You want to use the landing page to really help communicate your brand's backstory. So why or how did you get into image consulting?
Just from working at J. Crew here and then having a lot of people be like, hey, can you dress me outside of this?
Nice. And that's cool. I forgot you mentioned that. There's actually a J. Crew like 2 minutes away here from my office. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Where it happens.
yeah. It's weird. So that's great because people are going to want to know. Okay, they probably know that there are other options in a major metro area like Denver. So that snippet on, hey, you work with a very recognizable brand. This is something that you did for that brand. That's something that could set you apart.
Gotcha.
So providing that backstory and why you're different. So who you are, what you do, and why they should choose you. So I'll do that. You should make sure that you're communicating why you're different and really how, not only why you're different, but why does that benefit your customer. So the fact that you worked at J. Crew, how does that benefit a potential customer?
Well, just because I still work there, so I'm current on what all the trends are.
Very good, very good. So you're not kind of just operating in the vacuum. You see the stuff every day.
Yeah.
Um, and then just kind of like a requirements thing. Make sure that on your landing page you link to your terms and conditions and your privacy policy page. This just kind of adds credibility that you're not, you're legit. You're a legit company, a legit brand. You're not doing anything spammy. Now, when you're creating your landing pages, this is something you can decide. I typically use a third-party platform like Unbounce or Lead Pages.
Right.
It's just better control over kind of the conversion tracking, and also there are many templates that can help accelerate this process for you.
Okay.
So just throwing that out there. There are other landing page builders out there. Thrive Architect has a very good one, but I've used mostly Lead Pages and Unbounce.
Okay.
Display ad targeting. So we're going to go a little bit more into detail about each of these, but there are different ways you can target your display ads. You have remarketing audiences, so people who visited your website. If in the future you really want to build up your YouTube channel, or even for Alpha Graphics, you want to build up the YouTube channel there. YouTube viewers is a great way to reach market to people. And then for whatever reason, if you want to have a mobile app in the future, you can also remarket to people on your mobile app.
Okay.
Interest audiences. So this is probably the most popular way to retarget people. But you can look at different demographic categories. You can look at different life events. You can target people who are in market. So based on their web browsing behavior, they've shown an interest in your product or service. And I shouldn't use the word interest because that's kind of, maybe they're just looking at it but not really serious. They've actually shown buyer intent, for your product or service. And then similar audiences we already went over. Basically, if you have an email list or something, or a remarketing list, you can build on top of that list, focusing on other user profiles that share the similar characteristics.
Okay.
And then placement targeting. So websites, YouTube channels, YouTube videos, and mobile apps. So before we jump into some of the demos, I think it's important that we kind of went over in market segments. So, before we go in too deep, in market segments, they sound great, right? You're targeting people who have shown that not only are they interested, but they are ready to buy. So these are people who have browsed, relevant websites, maybe your competitor websites. They are, I guess, visiting these websites frequently. So, maybe they're looking at the different providers in Denver, and they, clicking through the website. So they have shown, a intense interest in the service. If they have clicked on any other ads related to your service, so they clicked on a Carrie Blair ad, they can be included in this segment. And then subsequent conversions. So let's say, I'm not sure of the different lead magnets that your competitors are using. Let's say they've gone to one of your competitors' websites and they signed up for the email, to join a newsletter. So they've shown that they have some intent on working with a image consultant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing here is that you're pretty much, again, leaving it to Google to determine that they are, prime prospects. And sometimes this can go wrong. So, as you're gonna see a lot in this session, I think everything is worth testing. But just, don't rely on any, targeting type while testing the others. I would say, this is usually not a good idea, but throw the spaghetti at the wall and see what really sticks with your campaign and with your audience.
Okay.
Okay. So moving over to responsive display ads. So these are pretty much the default ad type on the Google Display Network. And the benefits of Google or responsive display ads is that you can target a wide audience and you can create hundreds of ad variations with just setting up one ad. So that it saves a lot of time where you don't have to create a image or a creative and the text copy for that ad and do that, hundreds of times. You just do it once and Google will take care of the rest. They can be used for dynamic remarketing, which, like I mentioned, I will create a subsequent video, or so it really goes into detail there.
Okay. So
just some things to remember when creating a successful responsive display ad campaign. So for number one, you really only have to use one image or logo, but kind of going back to the previous slide here, remember, you want to have as many variations as possible. And if you are doing dynamic remarketing, you want to make sure that Google can pull from as many ad creative combinations as possible. So you can upload up to 15 images and 5 logos, and I recommend that you use all 15 and all 5.
Okay. Just like different colors of the logo or sizes or what?
Yeah, so different, I would say different sizes is probably the most common thing to do there. But one thing to keep in mind is when website owners, when they sign on with the Google AdSense program, they actually get to specify which ad dimensions that are shown on their website. And so if you provide more options to pull from, that's basically going to widen the number of websites that you can get your ads placed on.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Headline. So again, you really only have to create one headline and one description, but again, give Google as many options as possible. For the headlines, and I think we might have discussed this last time, but what I always recommend, and this also applies for Facebook ads, think of the different problems that your target audience would have. And for you, I would break it down into, okay, what are the 5 problems that someone who's just achieved a great weight loss goal, what are some different problems that they would have? And then along with those problems, you want to kind of brainstorm different solutions that solve each of those problems.
Okay.
And that's pretty much going to give you, what you should be using for your headlines and what you should be using for your descriptions.
Okay.
You always want to preview your ads, make sure that they look good before setting the campaign live. Seems obvious, but you always want to include some type of call to action, and that's you'll do that on the AdWords interface. And then you want to create multiple responsive ads per ad group. Again, test. That's if there's anything with advertising, paid advertising, you always want to test different variables. So make sure that you have at least 2 display ads per ad group. And then again, number 6, test and optimize. It's a never-ending process, but that's really how you're going to find out what works.
Do you have graphic designers that work for you?
I don't have any full-time. I have a few go-to guys and gals on Upwork and Fiverr.
Are they the ones that you have do all your display ads, or do you oftentimes create them yourself?
I usually outsource it.
Okay.
Yeah, because they already know what I need, so it's just a lot faster.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so let's go over to, have you ran a display ad campaign before?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I used to be a account manager for a digital agency that did all like political ads, and so
cool.
like I handled like all of like the copy that went on it. I didn't actually run the ads. Like we had a team that did all that.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, so you probably well versed on that the creative stuff. So that's
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So this is the setup for a Google display ad. But before you even get to this part, I'm going to show you how I navigate there. So we're going to go here. Let's just go. Okay. I'm going to go to accounts, actually campaigns. So we're going to just pick. And then this one I've just kind of been using for our session, so I'll stick with this one. There we go. Okay. So typically for a display ad campaign or responsive display ad campaign, usually you're going to be using brand awareness and reach or product and brand consideration, but you can also use website traffic, leads, and sales. And so kind of going back to our see, think, do framework, you're trying to figure out basically what stage this particular ad is going to be targeting, and then kind of base your objective on that stage. So let's just say that we're really trying to drive website traffic. We're in the think stage. So from there, you'll just hit display, and then just select standard display campaign for this one, and then just put in your website URL. And then once you do that, you should see a screen like this. So this is going to look very similar to the search ad campaign setup. So I'll kind of skip through some of the targeting things we went over last time.
Okay.
The difference you'll see here, you're actually going to be bidding based on impressions, because you're trying to get your ad out there to more people. So viewable impressions, that's going to be the bidding, the bidding strategy. You'll put in your budget. So again, if you don't want to think too much about this, whatever is your monthly budget, and if you're going to run every day of the month, so including weekends, just divide that by 30. Or if you're only interested in running it on business days, then divide that by 20. That's going to give you your daily budget.
Okay.
Ad rotation, again, Google will always use this as a default option, but you want to make sure that you're getting enough data to really make some decisions about which ads are working and which aren't. So I always recommend, at least initially, to rotate the ads so that each ad variation gets an equal number of impressions. Ad schedule, we already went over that. Start and end dates, the same. Frequency capping. So I would say let Google Ads optimize how often your ads are shown.
Okay.
Because on the Facebook side, they use something called frequency. So basically, that's on average how many times a user has seen your ad. And so you might not know what that is, especially when you're first starting a campaign. So just leave it as default. Kind of some of the more advanced options here. You can select which devices it's shown on. So, that could depend. Devices can depend on, the type of product or service. I would say in general, you're going to want to show on all devices.
Okay.
An example where you might only want to show it on, computers is, let's say if and this might be more relevant for Alpha Graphics, that you're targeting more of a business client. Maybe they're kind of doing this research, at work, or if they're working from home, probably they'll be doing this, at their desk. So that's where you might want to target computers. But if it's not really like a special circumstance like that, then you'll probably want to just leave this specific targeting for all devices.
Okay.
Content exclusions, again, unless you have a specific type of content. So, Google won't let you advertise cannabis, but, if there's anything kind of more, kind of sexually suggestive or something, then yeah, you might want to go in here and just modify these settings.
Okay.
Dynamic ads. So again, you'll have to set up a feed for those. Campaign URL options. So again, this is where you'll set up the custom URL for your campaign. So again, I would recommend when you're actually setting up the campaign to use these for better tracking. So you know what's working and what's not. Ad group name. So just, I would just say have a standard convention and stick to it for naming. Just make sure that's descriptive for whatever that ad group is targeting.
Okay.
Targeting, you can do manual or automated. So, it really depends on, your time, your bandwidth as far as managing the ad campaign day to day. But, I would say if at all possible, use manual targeting. And then dynamic ads, again, you're going to use the data feed, and then you're going to select your business type here.
Okay.
Now, the fun part, let's actually create the ad creative. So creating the responsive display ad, it's going to pull over your URL. So this is where you're going to add your images and logos. So you can just have Google scan your website and pull out different images and logos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so this isn't, well, it's probably a real website, but this is not what I want. So let's say maybe if we wanted to use alphagraphics.com. Okay. So yeah, it's a good start as far as
okay.
figuring out which creatives like that you can use. So these are great for logos. You can also scan, your social media profiles. I actually never tried scanning Instagram. See what happens with that.
That's real. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have something that's really cool on Instagram. You can use that as an ad creative.
Cool.
But yeah, just the main thing here, you can choose up to 15 images and 5 logos. So try to use all the images and logos that you can. And let's say, whatever it pulls, it doesn't quite meet the bill or what you're looking for. So you can also upload your own images. And, I would say it's a last resort, but you can use stock images too.
Okay.
That's pretty much that. That's pretty much all that is. So I'll go ahead and just select some here. So you can use that as the logo, select the ratio, and then use that as an image. So kind of modify it a bit. This one might be tough, so we'll just use that.
Okay, yeah.
And then select 2 ratios. That should be all we need to move forward. Yep. Okay. And just know, while you're kind of completing this part of the campaign setup, Google is going to be kind of judging you based on what you provide. So you can see images. I only use one logo and one image. Gave me this little half full circle here.
Okay.
And then videos is really the same kind of process as images. So it's video. So again, that's something I would test out. Headlines, we can use the headlines. Just again, kind of going back to the, think about the different problems that the audience that you're targeting with this particular ad group, and then creating some ad copy, or not ad copy, but creating like a solution or a headline that addresses brings up the solution for that specific problem. So for weight loss, or your prospects who have undergone weight loss, what are maybe 2 or 3 problems that they're having as it relates to their weight loss and their wardrobe? Can you think of 2 or 3 off the top of your head?
2 of the problems that they're having, probably fit,
Mm-hmm.
sizing,
Mm-hmm.
and colors.
Okay, good. Interesting. What about the color?
Because there's certain colors that are going to look better on you depending on your body size.
I see.
Or like color combinations, like light and dark is something like you should do, because the comparison will help you look thinner.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, that's a good, that kind of insight is good when you're, thinking about your ad creative. So the fit, that can be its own creative. The color coordination can be its own. So that's why it's important. I think it's a good activity to think about those different problem solution combinations before you even get in here to AdWords. Description. And my apologies, they're doing some construction here in the office, so you might hear something in the background. But yeah, description, again, go back to those different problem solution angles and think of, different, up to 5 different descriptions that go into more detail about the problem and how White Shoes Consulting or Apple Graphics can solve it. And then business name, straightforward enough, just put your business name there. Then you have additional format options. So you can use asset enhancements. So you can let Google enhance your assets and optimize your ad layouts. So I usually just leave these both as checked. And then use native formats. So that, again, you're pretty much allowing your ads to be shown on a larger collection of websites. So again, I will leave this default as well. And then advanced URL options. So you can actually, before we were at the campaign level, this is at the ad group level. So you can even add more custom parameters to do even more granular tracking.
Okay.
Then more options. You can have call to action text. So I typically recommend some type of call to action, but it's very important if you're building ads out for the think or do stages. So you can do automated. I usually like to actually specify my ads, my call to action text. But yeah, you just pick whatever is most relevant to the landing page that you're sending people to. Okay. Then once you're finished with all that, just add to ad group and you're all set. Kind of just looking at some other things here. So you can kind of see how this looks on YouTube or Gmail. So you can kind of do that dynamic preview. So that's how it would look on YouTube, and then Gmail should be at the top there. And then websites and apps. And really, again, what you're just looking for here is make sure that it looks good and nothing looks off. Okay. So that's pretty much it as far as setting up a responsive display network campaign. Any questions there?
No, that's pretty straightforward.
Okay. So moving on to Gmail ads. These are your favorite, right?
Yeah.
So Gmail ads is one of the subtypes for display ads on the Google Display Network. The adverts will appear on the top of the social or promotions tab in your user's inbox. And when a user clicks that Gmail ad, it will open an email containing an image, video, or catalog of images. So this is an example of an unopened Gmail ad. So again, the indicator here is the little green text with the box around it. And then this is an example of what that ad looks like once someone clicks the ad. So once you really start to understand your target audience, you'll understand what type of users will be clicking the Gmail ads, and that might be a certain demographic. That's just something you'll need data to kind of confirm on.
Yeah.
But that'll give you an idea on what type of creative you should be including within the Gmail ad. Okay, so going over back to AdWords. So we already know how to get here. Actually, let's go back. Okay, so with Gmail ads, again, you can use any of these different objectives except for app promotion. And then again, you want to select the display campaign type and just select Gmail here. And it's going to be pretty much the same process. You put in your website URL, and it's going to take you over here. And really, it's the same process as setting up the responsive display ad, just different placement. So, one thing I will look at, you can kind of do some research on when are the times that most people are most likely in their inbox. Mm-hmm. And kind of thinking about, okay, are you targeting more so people at work? So would they be browsing the internet at work? Yeah. Or would they be at home? And so that can kind of help inform, your ad schedule but also it can help inform like which days of the week that you run your ads. So if they're mostly at work when they're doing this, then maybe Monday through Friday is what makes sense for your budget.
Okay. Are the ads in Gmail cheaper to run?
I would say there really isn't a big difference as far as the different types of display ads. There is a considerable difference between search, what we went over last time, and display ads. Last time I checked search ads, I don't remember the exact amount, but it was like maybe $2 or $2.30 to $2.40 on average cost per click, whereas the average cost per click for a display ad ranged from 50 cents to 60 cents. So display ads are definitely, when you're looking at a high level, are definitely more cost effective than search ads.
Yeah. Okay.
So a few things we didn't go over in the first example. You can do some keyword targeting. So again, this is kind of similar to search ads, but you can kind of just target based on your own keyword research, different keywords that would be good or have good potential for building some traction. And if you're not sure about that, you can always use some of Google's recommendations here. Okay. For target audiences, so this is where you can really start looking at the different types of audiences. So let's just say for White Shoes Consulting, maybe one of your target audience groups are business professionals. So I'll use Google's example here. So you kind of just look through these, so business professionals, business travelers, banking and finance, maybe if that's a big industry. Do you know, is there like a common industry or a popular industry among your, I guess, more career-oriented clients?
Yeah, a lot of them are actually going into real estate.
Real estate, okay.
Yeah, like I've had 4.
Oh, nice. So let's see what we have in real estate. So yeah, so you might have to be careful with this because you don't necessarily want people, you probably don't want real estate investors or people who are looking for, a new house or something. So you just want to make sure to keep that in mind. So maybe, what would you say there are more so real estate agents?
Yeah.
Okay, see what we have here for real estate agents. So some of these may work, some of these not, but you really just drill down on those different audiences. And you can see here, here it's kind of small, but these are the different types of audiences. So you have in-market audiences, so real estate. So these are people who are looking for real estate. So they're probably looking for a new house. May not be your best bet. What you may want to look at here are more so interests. So life events, again, that probably wouldn't be a good target. Starting a business soon, maybe they're starting a real estate agency or something. Maybe that's something with good potential. Yeah, so it looks like this is more so geared towards people looking for real estate. Maybe we typed in real estate professional. Maybe would that give us something different? Pretty much looks like the same. Yeah, so I would just kind of play around with this, understanding your target industry, some of their interests, and kind of help give you some seed searches you can do here. Ideas. So again, this is Google based on what you've inputted as so far in the campaign setup, some different ideas. So we're looking at real estate, maybe, something like men's apparel, women's apparel may be interesting. Yeah, other than that, these don't seem like they would be very relevant.
Yeah.
And then browse. So you can kind of, basically can build your own audience from the
And
ground
this is where you can do the salary one and stuff, right?
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, so that's the interest, um, education. So actually, salary would be in the targeted demographic section, but
Okay.
this is kind of more so, okay, real estate agents, I don't know, are they usually college graduates in your experience?
No.
Okay, yeah, so maybe you'll target high school graduates.
Okay.
But yeah, again, that's just where it's really important to have that buyer persona data, kind of just match up your targeting based on that persona data. Scrolling down a bit further here. So again, gender, male, female. So would you say your real estate agent clients, or is it more male or
Male.
female? Male.
No.
So,
Yeah.
so let's say we were creating an ad campaign or ad group just for real estate. We might want to just check male. Age, what would be the average age range?
Probably that 35 to 54 range.
Okay. Yeah, so you'll see that this kind of changes the data over here as well. And then usually are they parents, single, or what?
Usually they're married.
Okay,
I don't know about being parents.
okay. So I would say for Mary, I usually just select parent,
Okay.
especially for that age range. I think the average, a typical married couple would have children, but there's always exceptions.
Yeah.
And then for household income, and so this is where you kind of have to do a little bit of research. So I noticed because I did it recently, but your top 15% is usually going to be like $6,000 or more. Now, obviously, that can change based on the specific metro area that you're targeting.
Okay.
But we can just do a quick search here. Top 10% of income earners in the U.S. So what is that range? Just do a search here. So it doesn't really give me an average, but we already know that's probably at least in the six figures.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting. Okay.
and so for the top 10%, so that might be a little kind of broad still for what you're looking for. So what I like to do is go back to where we're doing kind of the basic campaign setup. So, let's say I'm really looking for folks in that top 5%. Use this household income targeting, but also layer on top of that targeting specific areas that I know that are affluent, that the houses, it's going to require a certain level of household income annually to have that lifestyle.
Okay.
So what are maybe some areas, or I guess my first question, what would be like the percentage that you're targeting with your clients?
For income,
Yeah. Household.
probably anything just like disposable. So I'm just not like sure. I would say probably anyone that makes over 100K.
Okay. And then over 100K, do you know like specific areas in Denver that they?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So what I would do is, kind of just go to Google Maps
Uh-huh.
and just figure out what those zip codes are.
Okay.
Even if there are, because sometimes depending on how large, I'm assuming those are going to be suburbs or like districts in the city. They may not be large enough to actually be able to target, but you can actually target via zip code. And I find zip code is going to give you the most granular targeting available when it comes to
Uh-huh.
location.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how I would approach that. Now, automated targeting, this is something that is specific to Gmail ads. So when you're working with a small budget, I would just leave this as no automated targeting. Conservative automation and aggressive automation. That's basically, it's very similar to the lookalike audience feature with Facebook, where you're basically allowing Google to find other user profiles that match the demographic of your audience, your known target audience. And conservative, just as it sounds, it's not going to widen that scope too much, but aggressive will. So I would say, unless you're really playing around with at least 5 figures, I would just leave leave this as no automated targeting.
Okay.
And then the process is, is pretty much the same as far as actually creating the ad. Now, one thing to kind of keep in mind when you're creating these different ads or these different types of display ads, kind of just think of that person's mindset, when they're looking at that ad. So kind of going back to responsive display ads, usually they're going to be on a website, they're going to be, maybe on YouTube. You're really going to have to put together something that's really going to grab their attention, as far as the image creative and the text that you may be using. Basically, interruption marketing. So interrupt what they're already doing. Now with Gmail ads, kind of think about the mindset when someone's looking at their inbox. Maybe they're at work, maybe they're a little stressed, they're, short on time. So you need what I call a quick jab. So catch their attention really quick with that text copy. And then once they open it, maybe, I find that Gmail ads, that's a great opportunity for humor, because everyone likes to laugh, especially if they're working or something. So, try to find a way to incorporate some humor into your Gmail ads if you decide to use this ad type.
Okay.
And that's really all here. Again, you can preview based on the device. But any questions on Gmail ads?
No, I think I'm good there.
Okay. Now, I've saved the easiest for last, and these are the smart display ads. Have you ever ran smart display ads?
I'm not positive.
Okay. So I call these the lazy man's version of Google Ads. Basically,
Okay.
you're letting Google do all the heavy lifting as far as the targeting. So everything we just went over with the targeting, you're telling Google, hey, take this off my hands. The audience creation and the campaign strategy. The only thing really you need to do is set up the conversion tracking and then upload creatives for the ads. And how Google determines where to display the ads is based on insights from the landing page or the domain that the ads are linked to, your remarketing list, and your landing pages, if they're very different from your website.
Okay.
So kind of moving over here back to AdWords. So the thing about smart ads is that you do have to pick either website traffic, leads, or sales as your campaign objective. And then just hit the second option here. Open our website, hit continue. And it's going to take you over to a screen that looks like this. So again, all the same location and language targeting setup, bidding, make sure that you're optimized for whatever goal you're going after. Budget is the same. Now you'll notice that there really aren't nearly as many options. Even when you click targeting, you're not able to specify your targeting options. But you still need to set up your creatives here. So kind of similar to what we did for the responsive ads, setting up your images and logos, uploading those, uploading your video, and putting in all of your ad copy that'll be used for your ad. And that's pretty much it with display or smart display campaigns. I would say when I use smart display campaigns, it's usually if I'm working with a new client and I really have no idea on their target audience or what would be the best keywords for them. Usually this is going to be in very obscure niches where, I don't have, or my team doesn't have any experience in, or if the client just doesn't know anything about their target audience. So they didn't go do Leonard's training, so they don't know the importance of buyers personas. So yeah, obviously these are a lot faster to get up and running. So let's say, again, if you don't really want to spend too much time on developing a buyer persona or understanding what that looks like, but you want to run some campaigns, some paid campaigns, then Smart Display is a great option for that. But again, kind of, you're pretty much giving all the control to Google. So that's why, if at all possible, I try to stay away from them.
Okay.
And, we're going over our smart campaigns with display ads, but they're also available for text ads as well. Okay. Now, just some best practices for display ads on Google. Now, in the homework, I'm going to provide some supplemental reading that goes into best practices for each campaign type that we just went over, or ad type that we just went over. But just some general best practices, and some of these by now should be pretty obvious. Always make sure that you're setting up conversion tracking, and you want to make sure that your goal setup in Google includes not only macro level conversions. So for you, that would be when someone makes a purchase, but also micro level conversions, such as that particular website user sign up for your email list or your newsletter. You always want to create multiple ads for each ad group. You always want to be testing not only that, but different targeting options. And you want to test the different audience and targeting types. So we have remarketing and market, custom intent audiences, and similar audiences. In addition to that, kind of as we just went over when we're figuring out our demographic targeting, you want to use your buyer persona to help guide you through this process. You want to separate different targeting strategies into different ad groups, so you know which ones are working the best for your campaign and for your brand. And then you also want to test the different ad creative types. So test video, test catalog images, and definitely test multiple landing pages. And kind of going back to my recommendation on creating these different problem solution angles, I would create a landing page for each of those problem solution angles. Really, the look and feel can look the same, but maybe the copy is just a bit different, so that's relevant for that specific problem and solution.
Okay.
And that brings me to the end of today's session. Did you have any questions?
No, that was good. I just need to go through and practice all that now.
Yeah. I think especially with SEOs, you just got to kind of get in here and just dig around a bit.
Yeah.
So that's all we have for today. I should have everything uploaded by the end of the day today, so you have some time to look at that, and I'll make sure to reschedule that session for next Monday.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Leonard. I appreciate it again.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.